Following a traffic accident, a victim lies injured on the road. As bystanders rush to help, a car driving in the opposite lane fails to notice the person on the ground and runs them over. This tragic event highlights the critical need to secure an accident scene immediately. Using hazard lights, warning triangles, or directing traffic is essential to protect the injured and first responders from secondary collisions, which are often just as deadly as the initial crash. In a poorly constructed room, a person is sleeping on a cot. Without warning, the concrete slab roof above them gives way, collapsing and burying the individual under tons of heavy rubble. Rescuers immediately rush in and begin frantically digging through the debris with their bare hands to pull the victim out. This catastrophic structural failure is a direct consequence of subpar construction and lack of proper reinforcement. It underscores the vital importance of adhering to building codes and using qualified engineers and builders, as any shortcuts in overhead construction can have fatal consequences for those below. In a repair yard, a mechanic is working on a truck with its cab tilted forward to access the engine. Another man works on a pickup truck parked directly in front of it. Suddenly, the hydraulic prop holding the massive cab fails, and it slams shut, crushing the man working on the pickup. This is a critical failure of basic maintenance safety. Never trust hydraulics alone. A secondary mechanical safety lock or a properly rated support brace must always be used when working under any raised heavy component. During a demolition, workers use a small front-end loader and a makeshift hoist to lower a large metal smokestack. One worker stands directly in the fall path, guiding the base. The temporary rigging fails, and the massive pipe crashes down, striking the worker and pinning him. His colleagues rush to try and lift the immense weight. This incident is a textbook example of disregarding rigging safety. Never stand under a suspended load. All lifting operations must be planned by a competent person, using properly rated equipment and maintaining a clear and respected drop zone at all times. Men are attempting to move a large, top-heavy commercial refrigerator or vending machine. They are using an improper method, trying to slide and pivot it by hand without proper equipment like a dolly or pallet jack. As they maneuver the appliance, its high center of gravity causes it to become unstable. It begins to tip over, and one of the men is unable to get out of the way. The incredibly heavy machine falls directly on top of him, crushing him against the floor. Moving heavy and tall objects requires careful planning and the use of appropriate mechanical aids to prevent them from tipping over. During nighttime road construction, a worker in a high-visibility vest walks near a large wheeled excavator. The operator begins to swing the machine's cab to reposition it. The worker is standing in the excavator's massive blind spot. As the cab rotates, the heavy counterweight swings around and pins the unsuspecting man against a stack of concrete barriers, crushing him. Swing radius accidents are a common and deadly hazard. Ground personnel must never enter the swing radius of an excavator without first getting confirmation from the operator that they have been seen. Inside a workshop, two men are performing maintenance on a large industrial machine. They are positioned directly underneath a heavy, suspended component of the apparatus. It appears the component was either improperly supported or the lifting mechanism failed. Suddenly, the entire assembly gives way and collapses downwards, crushing both workers beneath its immense weight. This is a fatal violation of a primary safety rule. Never work under a suspended load. Heavy components must be physically secured with certified blocks or safety stands before any personnel are allowed to work underneath them. In a chaotic street intersection, a pedestrian begins to cross the road. At the same time, a wheeled excavator makes a turn, its operator's view obstructed. The operator does not see the pedestrian, and the front of the heavy machine strikes her, knocking her to the ground. Continuing its turn, the operator, still unaware of the collision, drives directly over her. Heavy equipment operating in public spaces poses an immense risk. Operators must use extreme caution and have a clear line of sight, while pedestrians should never assume a driver has seen them. A man operates a large industrial lathe, leaning over the rapidly spinning chuck. His loose jacket sleeve gets snagged, and he is instantly and violently pulled into the machine, spinning at a terrifying speed before a coworker hits the emergency stop. This is a classic entanglement accident. The number one rule when working with rotating machinery is absolutely no loose clothing, untied long hair, or jewelry. These items can be grabbed in a fraction of a second. Additionally, a chuck shield could have prevented this contact. At a gas station next to a busy roundabout, a chaotic car accident occurs. One of the involved cars rolls backward, out of control, directly into the station forecourt, striking an unsuspecting attendant sitting in a chair. This incident underscores the risk of working near live traffic. Protective barriers, like bollards, are essential to shield work areas from errant vehicles. A large truck reverses toward a loading bay, while a pedestrian walks directly into its path from behind. The driver, with no visibility in this massive blind spot, continues backing up and runs the person over completely. This is a tragic and preventable blind spot accident. Large vehicles must be equipped with functioning backup alarms and cameras. Crucially, a dedicated spotter should always guide a reversing truck, maintaining constant visual contact with the driver. In a busy shipping yard, a man walks across the pavement while completely absorbed by his phone. He fails to notice an approaching forklift and steps directly into its path, getting struck and knocked down. This is a clear case of distracted walking in a high-risk environment. Using a phone while walking in an active yard with heavy machinery should be strictly forbidden. Pedestrians must maintain full situational awareness at all times. A mechanic performs welding work underneath a car on a lift. Sparks from his tool ignite a flammable liquid on the floor, likely spilled fuel, and the vehicle erupts into a massive ball of fire. The mechanic is forced to scramble to safety from the inferno. This is a failure of hot work safety procedures. Before any welding or grinding, the area must be completely cleared of all flammable materials, including liquids, vapors, and oily rags. A fire extinguisher must be within arm's reach, and it is also standard practice to disconnect the vehicle's battery. In an underground mine, a group of workers gathers to board an elevator cage. As the first 4 workers step inside, the entire cage structure suddenly breaks free from its lift mechanism and plunges into the dark shaft below. This is a catastrophic structural or mechanical failure of the highest order. Mine elevators, or cages, are subjected to extreme stress and harsh environmental conditions, requiring an exceptionally high standard of maintenance, inspection, and operational oversight. Redundant safety systems are supposed to prevent exactly this type of free fall, pointing to a critical lapse in safety protocols. On a snowy construction site, a crane lowers a long metal beam. A worker on the ground is unable to control the swinging load and is struck violently, getting knocked off his feet. Guiding suspended loads by hand is extremely risky. The correct and safe procedure is to use tag lines, long ropes attached to the load, that allow workers to maneuver it from a safe distance, well outside the potential swing or drop zone. 2 movers attempt to load a tall, heavy appliance into a small van. Moving it on a dolly, the appliance becomes top-heavy and unstable. As they struggle to control it, it tips over, crushing one of the men against the side of the van. Moving tall, top-heavy objects is incredibly dangerous, as their high center of gravity makes them prone to tipping. For a load this size, more personnel or proper lifting equipment like a lift gate should have been used. They underestimated the instability, leading to a fatal crushing injury. A forklift operator turns into the path of a rickshaw. The forks pierce the vehicle,